Welcome to Ag Ammo and Adventure, the show where we load up on insight, pull the trigger on truth, and blaze a trail to the back roads of agribusiness, science, and true grit. From feed yards to field labs, deer blinds to boardrooms, this is a podcast where Iowa roots run deep, stories run wild, and your hosts come fully loaded. I'm Todd Coffelt, small-town farm kid living in the city.
And once again, I'm Steve Larsen, the blonde-headed wonder up here in Polk City, Iowa today.
You can't give yourself your own nickname, Steve.
I thought I was Backstrap or something like that. Didn't you send me a message that my new nickname is Backstrap?
No, absolutely not. I think multiple times throughout this podcast, we will identify the need for listeners to contribute to the quality of material that we're going to share. So that's going to be our first one. All right.
Todd, how long does a nickname need to stick with you to be a nickname? So if I get a nickname every week, is it really a nickname?
Until one stays for longer than a year, it's not a nickname.
Okay. So a true nickname is at least 12 months.
It has to be. Because if it's not, then it's not catchy. It doesn't work, or it was made up.
Or, those are great, or it doesn't humiliate you enough or describe you enough.
I understand what you're saying, but let's move on. Again, listeners, we're going to need a little help. I think that's plainly evident. So, Steve, what's been going on? We're coming through a hot blast summer. We've got 3/4 of the rainfall we need for the year, and it's been miserable.
It's been one of those summers, Todd. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm tired of mowing my grass. Not that I mow it, I've talked to you earlier this year due to increased charges in what I had to pay to mow my yard. It was cheaper for me to buy a mower, Todd.
Ooh.
Went out and bought the mower, right? And I mowed the first time back in May. And then since then, I can count on two fingers how much I mowed since then because the boss lady has decided that she would rather mow the yard, Todd.
Well, let's start small. I feel like you're winning. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there, #winning. And it makes me start to think, and now that you're fitting in with the city folks, we might just wield Suburban Steve and get everybody behind that effort. And the tales of Suburban Steve keeping up with the neighbors.
Well, Suburban Steve had to sleep on the couch the other night because La Jefa mowed, and it was kind of dark out, so I'll give her that. Got done mowing. She has her headphones on, listening to her music, jamming out. You can see her rocking on the mower. She got done, and like always, she said, "Hey, how did I do mowing the yard?" I said, "Oh, perfect, but did you go to the Ray Charles School of Mowing?" She's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, there's a bunch of slivers out there that you didn't even mow, sweetheart. Could you go back out there and mow them?" So that conversation ended pretty quickly. So I had to be out there in the middle of the night getting those slivers mowed down because someone had missed them, Todd.
Sometimes it takes two to tango.
Do you think anybody else has that problem? I would love to hear your input on if your significant other's out there mowing and may not have completely mowed the yard and there has to be a second mowing of the yard that day.
I feel like it might be a good time to review our ground rules. And one of our ground rules that we haven't written down yet is we don't provide therapy. So let's stick with that and let everybody fight their own battles before they publicize it and cause more problems. Well, what kind of mower did you get, Suburban Steve?
My neighborhood is what you would call a green neighborhood. So John Deere runs quite extensively in the neighborhood. We have a few individuals that work at the John Deere place in Ankeny. So I went across the street to my good friend Scott's house, and I said, "Hey, Scott, I am looking at a mower," and he does work at John Deere, and he said, "That is right at my wheelhouse." So before I got back to my house, which was about 50 yards across the road, I may have had 20 text messages from Scott on what mowers are good. Here's the pros of this mower. Here's the cons of that mower. And he was very thorough in his analysis. So we've got the 545 series zero turn, and it has been a welcomed addition to the Larsen household.
It's good to see you take the step forward and make good decisions, Steve. It's a free country. People can do what they want, but green looks good on you.
What I did learn in this process of looking at mowers is they charge a little extra for green mowers. and green tractors and green whatever. So I don't know what kind of upcharge I got, but it was it didn't break the bank, but it got pretty close, Todd.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, Steve. I knew you were going to catch up sooner or later. And you're winning. Let's just say you're winning. You're saving money, and nothing's broken yet. So the odds are in your favor.
It sounds like the bar's low on that one because we haven't even been mowing for 4 months yet, Todd. So I hope it doesn't break yet. But as always, the warranty will be utilized in case it does.
It's good to know your boundaries, Steve. I'm proud of you. Proud of you. We all are. We all are. That it's good to have neighborhood support. Like I said, you've entered the world of the burbs, and now you're keeping up with the neighbors. That's a good start.
Thank you for the vote of confidence, Todd. And I'm sure all my neighbors love it when I'm out at dark mowing, especially twice, Todd. Twice.
Again, we don't do counseling. Choice is yours. Choice is yours. So you were mentioning how hot and it's been and how much rain. A big topic of conversation has been corn sweat. And you're kind of the scientist end of this duo. So what's your understanding of corn sweat and what was going on? Was that the reason why it was miserable?
Todd, let me tell you something. What I know about corn sweat is when I eat too much sweet corn. And that's a handful of ears, maybe a dozen. I don't know. Sometimes I go into a corn coma before I get to a corn sweat. So it's been a wonderful year. We've got a specific brand of sweet corn that we love, and it has not let us down this year, Todd.
Do tell.
Well, up here in Polk City, Iowa, we're so close to Grimes that the Grimes sweet corn is a favorite of the Larsen household.
There you go.
So we have got into the practice. I'd love to know if a Coffelts do this, but we'll go out and buy a baker's dozen, not just a dozen, but a baker's dozen on Sunday. We'll boil it up Sunday night, cut it off the cob, and we will eat on that corn most of the following week. And it is truly delicious when you put copious amounts of butter, salt, and pepper with that corn.
I'm a fan of throwing a little cayenne seasoning on there just to give it a little zip. But I will tell you, being a small town kid, if I go somewhere and they do the baker's dozen, I will look for them every year in the same spot. And that's how our conversation starts. We want the red truck in such parking lot because they have the good sweet corn and they always give you one extra. So I appreciate that effort. That's good all the way.
You ever wonder, why do they call it a baker's dozen? Did some baker not know how to count and he started giving out 13 pieces of something? How did the baker's dozen ever come about?
Yeah, somebody had a good idea and they weren't a baker and they said, you should give me one more, especially a donut.
Well, we both grew up in southern Iowa. I wonder if that baker that couldn't count was from Missouri.
I don't even know.
Too soon, Todd? I don't know.
It made me think of another joke, but we'll save that for later.
Because you live so close to Missouri, you can almost throw a piece of corn and hit the Missouri state line where you grew up.
We make them honor the state line. It's still a dozen miles away, so we know where the boundaries are. So it's been wet. It stopped raining just a little bit, and we're all getting a little excited for fall. And those are a lot of conversations going on. What Iowa's known for 4 seasons. Sometimes they happen in 4 days or sometimes they happen in 1 day. But I was looking at an article the other day about the Farmer's Almanac and what the winter forecast is. And I'm like, how often is that Farmer's Almanac right? Question mark. Have you ever hinged your planning on the Farmer's Almanac?
No.
All right. So this will be a short topic.
I wonder as well as you do on how often the Farmer's Almanac is correct or how close they are to being correct. So if this year is supposed to be a cold, snowy year, at what time does it start? Because I would say over the last few years, snow has seemed to have been pushed back to January. I don't know that we see the amount of snow that we see now like we used to see growing up. I've got a September birthday. Big one coming up this year. I can remember my birthday parties being canceled for snow, ice, cold, things like that in September. I don't know the last time I've seen it ice or snow in September.
That'd be early, but I can remember pheasant seasons in October where there'd be a snowstorm after opening day. I've heard old tales about if there's fog in July, snow in October, that sort of thing. You've got caterpillars, the fuzzies, how wide the brown stripe is, and then my phone must be listening to me, but the songbird migration has started, and hummingbirds have left. And my wife likes to follow the hummingbirds and see where they are. So there was a sigh of despair when she said that out loud because she enjoys the hummingbirds and whatnot, but it's just the beginning of the seasonal change.
Well, have you seen very many of the caterpillars? Because I don't know that I've seen one yet to see how big the brown or the black stripes are.
I know the monarch migration is going on, but I have not seen any of the fuzzy wuzzies. And that'll fit right in with my planning because I haven't prepared any of that yet.
Well, if the Farmer's Almanac is going to try to predict the weather, we should have a Ag Ammo Adventure Almanac to predict deer movement and where they're going to be at during the season. Todd?
I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of contributors for that because mine will be accurate 3 days ago.
Well, it's similar to the weather person. You only need to be accurate part of the time to keep your job, Todd. And what's your definition of part of the time? 10%, 5%? I don't know.
Most of the time we're 80% accurate. So just pick which figure you want to go with.
I think I can be fairly accurate that we will see deer in Deer Alley half a days. And there's a few other spots that I would guarantee a deer. Now, when we go to Doc's ground that is extremely hilly, wooded area that Shamus just about didn't make it out of 1 year. I don't know. Sometimes we see deer in there and sometimes we don't.
It's been good, and that horse is going through a evolution. So I'm picturing the joy of traversing the ditches, the hilltops, and then I'm thinking of 6 to 8 inches of snow on it, and I'm thinking that drive's going to take twice as long because everybody's going to fall down and slide to the bottom of the ditch.
I remember the first time I came down there, and we were going to Doc's grounds, and the first thing you said to me is, "Hey, Steve, these deep ditches," and they are extremely deep. They do not run east and west, nor do they run north and south. So when you go down in a ditch and you come out, you're going to be confused at what direction you're going to go. And luckily, I did not get lost my first year there, but I've seen guys come out of a ditch and start walking back to where they came from.
Which is, if you know how to navigate through the ditch, Steve, you're not the only one. I'm sorry. I'm listening. I am validating what you're saying. But that ditch is a fun one. If a person has the patience to watch somebody go through there for their first time, because not only will they go through there and they feel good about getting out of the ditch, they start walking again and they'll run into the person next to them or two people over, and it's amazing. Even though everyone is wearing blaze orange, you can never see them until you walk into them. And then at that point, you kind of can establish whether or not they should do that again. And we give them a second try. Don't worry. You're not done the first time.
Well, why is it? I understand the blaze orange, but I would also add that it's so quiet in there that it sounds like a grizzly bear rolling down the ditch and climbing out. I have never heard so much noise in my life while standing there listening and watching somebody navigate a very steep ravine.
I think we found the answer to why we don't always see deer in there. I'm going out on a limb, but I think that's pretty close.
Well, and because you see them tumble and fall and they sound like a big old bear, it's hard not to giggle just a little bit.
If you've been there and done that, you can appreciate it as much as anything. You want them to get the full meal deal. You don't want them to fall short of knowing what that was like.
And we're such respectful hunters that when we have the wall of death, when we're pushing deer and we communicate of hold up, nope, time to go, no, wait a little bit. When you say hold up and the people down the line say, why are we holding up? What's going on? I have not heard one person say, well, Johnny fell down the ditch and we're just waiting for him to crawl back out. It's going to be 10 minutes. It's always, we're just holding up. Just wait a minute.
I'm just going to throw this out there. You'll notice that people who've been there more than once and been able to achieve successfully walking through that timber know where they want to line up and where they don't want to line up. And and they also appreciate where the sounds of pain and struggling are coming from. So anybody who's walked it, they know.
It's funny you say that. That's exactly right, where the seasoned professionals in the group know exactly where they want to walk because it's not the worst line of sight to walk. And the new people that join in do not fully understand the pain that it takes to walk certain segments of pushes out there. And the one thing I really love about this group is those that may have an injury or may not be able to walk as well, we get them to a spot where they don't have to struggle to walk or get to. So it's I think it's appreciative all around. But you and I are getting to that age where I'm waiting for those teenagers or younger 20 kids to come in and start walking where we're at, Todd, but we don't have that yet.
We need a recruitment campaign because I've said the same thing for a lot of years. We need younger people so I can be the older person. And now, as you said, as we get there closer to the end, A, there's still people older than me, and B, we don't have enough younger people. So we're at it again in the same position as last year.
Do you remember the year? I can't remember how long ago it was, 8-10 years ago, when we were on a very hilly, wooded area, and it was very foggy out, Todd. And I can remember walking and seeing the person to my right, the person to my left, and went down some ravines. We got back up, walked a few more minutes, and all of a sudden there were three of us that ended up in the same exact spot. And we looked at each other saying, we should have hit the end. We should have hit the posters by now. And as we're talking, another individual comes out of the fog, walks right by us with his head down, looking at his phone, and we said, "Hey, Jimmy, what are you doing?" "Oh, what are you guys doing here?" So, "Jimmy, what are you doing here?" He goes, "I'm lost. I don't know where we're going." And to make a long story even longer, we were about 100 yards north of where we should have been, and it took a little bit to get back through the fog and follow the fence line.
And that's what they say when you're lost. Just stop walking around. Try to figure out where you were. The good news is we had a group of people in the decision-making process.
But if we were lost, there were going to be 5 of us together, Todd. That's all I want to
say. By the time we got out of the timber, we changed that story, Steve. So I'm sure we're going to have questions about when and where that happened.
Well, and I also learned that very early on is don't put a Coffelt beside another Coffelt, because what ends up happening is you guys hold hands while walking through the timber just to make sure you guys don't get lost. And I learned that quickly as well.
That feels somewhat like an incriminating observation, Steve. Hey, there could have been a time where somebody besides me just ended up next to somebody who needed support to make it through the drive. And we provide that. They provided that.
It was your brothers, and we can talk about them because they're not here to defend themselves. And if you're not here, then it's full game on.
Open season. I like that. That'll help open up the chest of stories. So this will be good. Nice. So weather, no matter how much you plan for the weather on a hunting trip, you take everything because it could change, and it has changed. And so you take everything, you use what you need, and hope you have enough. And that's typically the MO with our group.
Well, that, and it depends on if you're posting or pushing, because there are layers of clothes that either get added or taken off depending what ground we're on and what position you're at of posting or pushing.
And once you start walking, nobody wants to block. It's almost a punishment if you walk all day and then the very last drive of the day they say, "Hey, can you block? Because the sun's going to go down, the wind's going to pick up, and it's going to be cold, no matter what."
Well, and I don't know about you, but I've evolved over the times where I would fill up my pockets in my Blaze Orange, either coat or vest, with my drag rope. I got to have my field knife. I got to have wet wipes to clean it. Then I got to have gloves, and then I got to have my tag, and then you have to have this, and then you have to have that. Before I knew it, I think I was packing around 80 pounds worth of stuff just to try to field dress a deer and carry one out. I don't know if anybody else is like that. Somebody needs to invent something where I can put it in just a little pouch of everything I need, and it doesn't weigh so much, because when you're on your hands and knees crawling under pine trees or jumping over fences that there are trees all by that you're looking for that little sliver of area to walk, but you just can't. So you end up crawling and rolling, and it's quite the workout, Todd.
Listen, it's not a fashion show. You take your gun and the bullets, you get your direction figured out, and you go, and you make sure you stay straight. That's all this other stuff. We're not there to talk about what you did in your free time. We're there to get it going, get the drive started, and move the deer around to make it happen.
How many times after a push do we see the pushers come out and somebody's got blood on his face because he got nicked by a branch or a thorn or barbed wire? I think about every push that we are involved in, somebody comes out bloodied. Not because of a deer, but just because of where they're walking.
I like to let people know where I am when I'm driving by whistling, because deer don't whistle. A lot of people in our group, with what you just mentioned, come out with explicatives and curse a blue mile. And it's like, yep, I know what path you're on.
I have heard, hey, did you hear that deer? Was he whistling when he ran by? No, that wasn't a deer. All right.
Deer don't whistle.
Deer don't whistle.
Deer don't whistle. Gee, man, you got to raise the bar. What? Okay. Stories. I love the stories. Most of it's true. You know, we talked about crops and fields with part of your update. With the weather, we talked about how crops are looking. Our corn's 10 feet tall with 10-inch ears of corn, and it's doing just fine. The green is growing everywhere, and talking about cover crops, we've said, okay, that's our next step, and so we'll get that done. But I'm thinking the next calendar date for something exciting is dove season. And so it's time to go out and scout for the dove plots.
Dove season is coming out September 1, opening day. And when you talk about crops for doves, I'm assuming you're talking about sunflowers, sunflower patches, sunflower fields.
Yeah, that we are. So it's one of those things. A lot of public ground has sunflowers. I think private landowners have started to develop their own, but going out to find where they're located, and then they don't mow around them for the landing zone for harvesting the doves that are shot until the week before. So getting out to figure what the dove plots or the sunflower plots look like for dove season, and then trying to figure out your strategy for where to set up. A lot of people are going to be getting that done and or will have it done by the time they hear this. So tell us where you're going dove hunting, Steve.
I know where I'm not going. You remember the year we planted sunflowers in your brother's backyard?
We tried.
And we sat around. There were some doves there. We shot doves off of that sunflower food plot.
We also learned they're not afraid to hang out on the high lines until we leave on the gravel road. So it's a valuable learning experience.
You know, Todd, I think you and I have been to Dunbar Slough quite a few times there in west central Iowa. It's familiar. There seems to be 30 hunters there, 30, 40 hunters there, typically when we go there. No, not that many.
30 or 40 cars with times two, at least. Yeah. It's a popular spot. That's how we'll say that.
Well, it is. And sometimes, on occasion, a decoy may get shot and start rattling. How many times have you picked up your decoy from dove hunting and it started rattling as you put it in your bag?
I'm kind of going on a streak. I'm working on a streak. This would be the 4th year if we're able to get that done again. So I have 3 different decoys right now that shake a little bit, rattle when they shake. So yeah, that happens. They look alike. They're good decoys. You can't expect anything else.
Has anybody told you that they shot your decoys? Do we know who put the pellets in your decoys?
I know who didn't.
Or is that still a mystery? Me, I didn't, because I'm that good.
I'm a pretty good guesser, but there's no need to spend time on that. No need. We're not the only ones.
I ended up, Sportsman's Warehouse had a special. I think you're the one that sent that to me. So I bought a few dove decoys myself, and I need to build what we call the television antenna system to hang my decoys on. So I got to build some type of place to put my decoys on so we can get them out there in the field.
Make sure it's a collapsible antenna so you're not carrying a 10-foot antenna out there. Not that I've seen that done before, but I have seen that done before. And it's all good. It's all good. I love the variety that everybody brings.
I do too. And and I'll be the first one to talk about this because I know everybody that's listening is wondering, how many shells do you bring? How many shells do you shoot? And how many doves do you take home with you? And I'm going to tell you that I bring 4 boxes of shells every time we go dove hunting.
Yes.
On average, I probably shoot about 2 boxes of shells. And I'm going to tell you, on average, I may bring home 6 doves.
You know, I know you're the meat
So that's
scientist,
50 shots.
and I know
That's
you
50
know
shots
how to,
for 6 doves.
I would. That's a pretty good average. There, you know, that's where the scouting and the location, because we've set up in beautiful spots and shot a lot, and being cheap, and I take eight shot. You can only reach so far with 8 shots. So, and I'm cheap. I'm not going to invest any more money than that. But maybe. But so yeah, I've limited out before. And I've carried an empty bucket back to the vehicle, but 4 boxes, I'd say that's about spot on. I can probably get through 3 boxes plus. Let me just say, every year I have to make sure I have ammunition to go to opening dove season. That's just a true statement, and I'm comfortable admitting that, because, yeah, if it's fun, make it fun and go from there. But
How many, on average, what are we sitting in that sunflower field? 2 hours, 3 hours? We're there? Take the doves to fly through?
Yeah, they're usually done about 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I say they're done. Most of the time, I'm not done. I'm always looking for one more or something else. But you're a little bit picky there toward the end of the experience.
They're like stealthy ninjas. All I hear is, coming to your right, coming from your left, over the top. What about the ones in front of you? What?
Who said that?
It gets confusing.
It's a lot of fun, though.
Everybody.
People picked it up, so it's cool to see. I'm not to the point where I go out at 3 a.m. anymore, but I try to not be the last person that gets there, because it's better to be ahead of schedule and know what you're doing than figure it out and ruin it for the rest of the group.
I think last year when we pulled into the parking lot, there may have been some tents in the back of trucks when we got there. Remember that?
Somebody must have lost a bet, because there was one guy out of a group of 5 that was cleaning it up, putting the casserole away, the burner, the cooker, cleaning up breakfast, and the others were already out at the plot sitting down picking, and he didn't offer anything to us as we walked by.
What is your favorite recipe for dove? How do you prepare your dove?
Great question. So I'll have the breast, a slice of jalapeno, cream cheese wrapped in bacon, slowly grilled until it gets a little sizzle, little crust, and then pull them out. And I try not to eat them as I walk inside, but just a little something to get the dinner going. It's delicious.
That's good. Breading them and deep frying them is also a good option.
Ooh.
And then, like everything else, cover it with a can of cream of mushroom soup. That seems to be the fallback, what a lot of people do.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. It's been a great addition to Iowa's hunting opportunities. I know there was a time they were catching up, and geez, how many years ago was that off the top of your head? Any idea?
6? Does that sound about right? 6, 7?
I'm going to say a dozen or more.
What?
Yeah, I'd say 15.
I think the sun's got to your head. I don't think it's been 15 years we've been dove hunting.
2011. Boom.
Really?
Dove hunting was approved in 2011. Well, at least that's what Google says. But AI, you can trust it for everything. It's not like it's Wikipedia. Geez.
It's not like it's leading you where it wants you to go, is it?
Yeah, it's listening better than my dog. So I confess, I use 8 shots. See, what do you use?
I use 7 shot, and you're exactly right that there are some hunters out there, they must use 3 or 4 shot because they are putting down dove that are a pretty good shot all the way out there. And it's always nice to have an excuse of why I don't shoot enough doves, Todd.
It serves us well. Serves me well. I won't drag you down. Won't drag you down.
And I've been to sporting goods stores, and there does not appear to be a decreased supply of steel shot for doves. We've ran into that in the past where somebody starts a text chain or email chain, and does anybody else have shells I could borrow? Does anybody else have a box? Who's got what? Trying to figure out what we have and where we can go.
It doesn't take much to make people nervous. You don't want to miss out on that opening day. That's kind of like the epitome of the experience.
Absolutely. Well, and this is going to be a busy opening day for Dove because the day before we're going to be having fun as a group of people at one of the guys in our group likes to put on, what do you call it, Todd? A get-together, some type of get-together. What would you call it?
It's it's a combination of an opportunity to shoot guns, get ready for the hunting season, and share what you've been working on regarding harvesting of fish, wildlife, and anything else you want to bring to a potluck. So it kind of hits on all calibers. If you're hungry, you can eat. If you have guns, you can shoot. If you want to talk some smack, then there's a little competition for the clay pigeons, and you get it out there and show it, walk the walk. And it's a great opportunity because it just gives everybody a chance to get together and enjoy the day. It's not uncommon for it to be hot that day, but it's always good to get together with people that share the same passion and are better cooks than you, because there's always something good to eat.
It's a community event, Todd, and I'm glad you brought up better cooks. I remember last hunting season where an individual's wife did not make those, what do they call those rolls? They're scotcheroos that have the chocolate rolled around in them. And his wife, I think she made them, but he just forgot to bring them. And I don't know that there were 10 minutes between somebody asking him where those rolled scotcheroos were and him getting so mad and us telling him, you can't go hunting with us unless you bring us the scotcheroos.
I think the message was delivered very clearly on what we were expecting for the next season, and he was able to show up and follow through on that. But it was something that is like, you had one job. I'm glad you're here and everything, but you had one job.
Yeah, he's going to have to, he might get a nickname after that. We'll have to wait, and we'll have to let that marinate a little bit and think about that. Maybe he could be called Scotcheroo. I don't know.
I think that'll work. I don't think anybody will argue with that. I'm going to write that down. That's all good.
The best part of that, Todd, he's going to know exactly what we mean when we call him Scotcheroo.
That's going to be perfect. He'll probably like it by the end of the weekend. Maybe not the first day, but it'll work perfectly. It'll work. There won't be any questions on why that name is popping up.
I'm sure other groups are like us, and it'll be like vultures picking at a dead carcass where everybody will be talking Scotcheroo to Scotcheroo.
If in a world of relativity, that is a very nice compliment for a nickname. I could live with that one. There are so many other options. Oh, that's funny.
Agreed.
That's too good. Joel and Scotcheroo. We're going to see how that plays. So by virtue of the fact that you're excited for Doc's trap shoot, that kind of answers the question for me. Have you been practicing?
I think you know the answer to that right now, Todd. I practiced last year. I don't know that I have. Well, I showed you a picture. I did expand the arsenal because everybody knows when you have a gun safe, guns just tend to breed themselves and multiply, and before you know it, you got a full gun safe, and then you got to get another gun safe, and then that cycle just keeps going and going. Guns just appear in the gun safe, Todd.
Let's just call that an informational statement, not anything that can be proven or disproven.
I ended up had some great friends that have some phenomenal dogs out there and go all over the country hunting birds everywhere. And I ended up getting a pretty decent over-under that I'm going to try out this year. And it's a new gun to me. It's an older gun, but it's a new gun to me. And if I miss, now I got a built-in excuse that I have a new gun. So I'm going to bring that down to Doc's, and we're going to see what we can do with it.
The group will be there to help you. They'll contribute to the evaluation of your ability and the product of your efforts.
Encouragement. It's what I like to call encouragement.
We'll try to keep it positive.
The only thing in my mind is I could hear this voice just giggling every time I miss a clay pigeon.
Use your imagination. It's always fun. It's always fun.
But I am rounding up the troops. So Jackson, who I'm going to call Siggs is going to go down with me to Doc's trap shoot. And I think I'm going to get my nephew down there as well. So the Larsen household will be representing the northern part of the state down there.
There you go. I'll be down. I have one of the sons with me, and then I know a couple of the other hunters are planning on going, and it'll be a good warm up, and we can kind of lay the gauntlet of what's going to be expected, as we do every year.
Love it. I hope there's some wagering and a lot of giggling, because there will be some misses down there.
You know, speaking of wagering, I try to be responsible every year. So we hunt with a group of hunters for deer season, and part of the experience is everybody puts in $1 for the biggest buck and $1 for the first buck, and the first buck has to have a forked antler. There's no button bucks or all that misnaming that goes on, so everybody puts in $2, and you wouldn't believe it, but the key to this is shooting the first buck, and then that causes people to know what time it is. With cell phones, it's not as bad, but back in the day, not everybody wore a watch, and so you had to find somebody who could verify that you shot the deer at a certain time. And so the second $1 is for the biggest bucks, and that's you have to wait all weekend to find out who has the biggest buck, and we go from there, and that's great, and people are good about it and talking, and everybody keeps track of it. Guess what I found the other day?
What'd you find, Todd?
An envelope with 48 $1 bills in it.
So you're telling me that our group is about 24 individuals strong, just so our audience knows.
It was last year, I'd say that.
There.
Yeah. I didn't give twice, Did you?
I could have. I don't know how many times did you ask me for $1? Well, I've got to pay for my nephew and my son, so I give more than once. It's like the blood bank. I give more than once.
That's a choice. So the point of this is that, and I tell everybody, first buck, biggest buck, don't leave without getting your money, because, there's been accusational sensitivity that people have rendered. Doc Richard, he said I didn't get it to him until August. It could have been right. But anyway, so I have the first buck money and the biggest buck money, which I'm fine. I've saved it. I've put it in a place I won't lose it. That's good. Winning. My question for you is, who was the first buck and who was the biggest buck?
I think that was me, wasn't it?
Hey, if I could find it written down, you bet. But I know it's not.
I think on a previous podcast, we've established that I haven't shot a deer in about 3 years. So I know it was not me. But I will say, Todd, this winter, when I do shoot the first buck, I'm walking straight to you and grabbing my money that second.
You think about this. We could double down on this, and there's going to be twice as much money for each category, because nobody collected it last year. And Steve, here's the deal. I'm not hard to find. I'm wearing Blaze Orange for 5 days in a row. You can find. I have a cell phone. We're going to have to lay it down, because until people can start following the rules, it's not going to work out.
So let me make some clarifying statements, Todd. When you talk about wearing Blaze Orange, I think you're wearing the same Blaze Orange you did 30 years ago, but it's much faded and darker. And I'd love to get everybody's input on this, a little stretched out. How many times have we went hunting, and that's the first time we put on those overalls or vests, and the zipper almost breaks off because it may be a little tight?
It's equal opportunity, Steve. I don't know where you're going with that.
Maybe that's one of our rants. I don't know, but sometimes my hunting clothes fit a little bit tighter the next year for some. I don't know what. Maybe I dried it in the dryer too long. That's what somebody tells me in my house, is you can't put it in the dryer because it shrinks all our clothes.
That happens, and that happens to my stuff for sure. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
Think about this. A, I didn't lose the money. B, $48. This is.
Let me ask you this question. You said you put it in a safe place now. I imagine the first place you put it was a safe place, but you forgot where it was at. Is this new safe place a place where you won't forget where it's at?
You know what? I understand the question.
That's too long of a pause. Todd, that's too long of a pause.
I put it right back where I found it because that's where I put it so I wouldn't lose it. Though right now I'm talking about it. I don't want to create expectations in our group, but come on. We invest $1 for a reason. We invest $2 for a reason. Bragging rights. If you ever had to put a price on it, right there.
Yes, every Saturday morning before deer season, we go to the Leon Volunteer Fire Department that puts on a phenomenal breakfast for us. Not for us, for everybody that's wanting to attend. And I have observed you walking around from table to table, and the only thing that's said is first buck, biggest buck, and everybody whips out their wallet or their wad of money, and usually it's, do you have change for a 20? Get out of here. I can't believe you asked that question.
I can't count that high that many times.
No, next time just say, no, I don't have change for 20, but I'll take your 20 and put it in the pot, then you're welcome.
Listen, $2 must not be that much, but it's a lot of fun to collect it from people who don't have it. So it's good. It's good. I'm excited to introduce everybody to that fact. I found it and I'm like, what is this? Oh, I know what this is.
I can't believe your brothers didn't find that in the truck before you did, because then it'd be gone.
They can usually sniff it out like a hound dog, that's for sure. But not yet. I've been able to save it. That's the other thing. When that time I may have forgotten, Doc Richard asked for it. I said, I couldn't tell you where that is. And honestly, it wasn't until I went back through my hunting clothes and looked for it that I found it. So that was my first guess. If you would have asked me where it was, I would have gone back into the tote holding all the clothing. But we didn't have to worry about that.
Does that mean that you don't wash your clothing, your hunting clothing, between seasons? You just put it in a tote and and maybe that's a good idea, because then you smell like the wilderness, so deer won't smell you or see you.
It's got to cover up the aroma of death walking through the timber for the first time in a year. So yeah, I might, but I probably wasn't, so I didn't wash the money. Now that I stored it somewhere else, I don't have to worry about that.
Well, so we've established that you're going to be one with nature, with your clothes and your dull hunter orange, and then you're whistling in the woods. So everybody ought to know where Todd's at walking through the woods with all this that we're talking about. There should be no doubt in anybody's mind. And more importantly, I have the money. So you want to make sure you know where I am at the end of the weekend. Would you like to put a wager on over or under 20 people say they shot the first buck and the biggest buck?
There's no doubt in my mind. It's 20 people say the first and 20 people say the biggest. So it's going to ride. We're going to double down, and people are going to pay attention this year. That is too good. I've just been laughing about that. Too good. All right. Okay. So there's a preview for the deer season. We've got the dove season coming up. I'll give a preview. So in southern Iowa, it's not uncommon for deer to try to cross gravel roads and to get hit. And I found a carcass the other day. It was a buck, and the vultures were given away where it was located, but it still had full velvet on the antlers. It was a nice looking 6-pointer. It wasn't going to be a trophy rack for Guinness or anything, but it still looked good. Big body deer and full velvet on the antlers. And it's such a beautiful picture and whatnot, but that's where the deer are as far as growth and development, where the bucks are. And that one is just going to be a story about the first one of the season.
Is anybody going to knock the horns off to get the velvet horns?
Well, apparently the blunt force trauma that caused the situation of it to be in the road ditch getting snacked on by 15 vultures was enough to put it into pieces.
There you go. Up here at driving around Saylorville, there have been a lot of does, mostly with twins. I very rarely ever see a doe with a single anymore. I did see one of those the other day, but the majority of does I see with little ones walking around are twins.
Nice. No, it's good to see. Oh, and so the update is the rules books are out and deer licenses are on sale. And so it's time to start planning and get your adventure set up because seasons are upon us. We're only 45 days away from, oh my gosh, we're knocking on the door for bow season and buying everything for all the other sports that we want to pursue. So, yeah, it's time to get ready and plan that and start putting pieces together.
So you brought up bow season. So we got 2 food plots in the grounds, and that's phenomenal and love that. We've got 2 more that we're going to try to get in the ground. We've got a 3rd that we may cancel and postpone till next year because of rain and unable to get to it. But we also have a plastic deer blind to put together and get that on some running gear and ready to go as well.
It's time. It's time to get that done. We're pretty good about talking about it, Steve. I'm kind of picking up on the groove that works.
We're idea generators.
There you go.
We just need help following through.
We have to have a to-do list. So it keeps us out of trouble. That's the key part of that. Well, here we are. So we're getting to the end here. We're going to, with the episodes coming up, we've got a pretty exciting one coming up with our interview from yesterday. Give us a highlight of that, if you would, Steve.
Absolutely. We were able to go to Pella, Iowa, to talk to one of the owners of Ulrich Meat Market, Lucas Van Wyk, and sat down. I would say we sat down right in the middle of where they get all their business done. Grinding, mixing, stuffing, showed us the smokehouses, showed us the retail store. And you're going to hear in the podcast that it smelled so good in there that we wanted to bottle that up and try to use it as perfume to give to our significant others. So it was talked about history of the meat markets, the ownership, and learned a lot of not only Lucas, but the Ulrich Meat Market.
That was a great interview, and just to tempt that a little bit more, Ulrich Meat Market has been there for 160 years. Now, Lucas Van Wyk, Ulrich is a German name, Lucas Van Wyk is a Dutch name. Lucas and his business partners started out with a good idea because they'd been making their own deer sausage, smoking their own products, and one day they said, you know what we should do? We should buy Ulrich Meat Market.
Absolutely. And to go from not really ever running a meats business, a processing company, a retail company, that Lucas and his business partners just jumped right in and hammer down, Todd, hammer down.
They got it done, made it bigger, made it better. And it was great of him to share that with us because what a great story, and everyone's going to love it.
What else we got? Were we going to talk about nicknames, Todd?
You know, we brought it up, and we Scotcheroo figured out. That's a good one that's going to stick around. I like that one. But, you know, it's been one of the most common questions. People have come up to me and said, well, nicknames, you ever think about this one? Or do you have anybody named this? Or we've got nicknames. And even as we spoke to Lucas yesterday, he kind of just smiled and says, oh, yeah, we got nicknames. He didn't share any of them, and he even answered the question on, I may have a nickname, I just don't know about it. And I think a lot of people will agree to that. Have you run across any of that, Steve?
I definitely have. I was telling you that La Jefa and I went out to supper with one of our former neighborhood friends, and she was listening to the podcast and was so excited that she wanted a nickname. And we had to tell her that you can't give yourself a nickname. If you give yourself a nickname, it's just a name. It's not a nickname. So there just at the end of supper, I said, you know what? Your nickname's going to be Bagpipes. And she had this look on her face like, what do you mean Bagpipes? And before I could say anything, my lovely wife leaned over and said, well, yeah, you're Irish, so Bagpipes is going to fit you just well. And I had to lean over and say, I don't think Bagpipes are Irish. I think they're Scottish. So the conversation kind of ended there, but call out the Bagpipes because she was wanting to get a nickname and call out on the podcast. So Bagpipes, I hope you're getting ready for school because the work is just going to start to begin.
There you go. Keep up the good work, Bagpipes. Can't wait to meet you in person. Well, that's it for this week, folks. As always, we're interested in what any thoughts you might have or comments you'd like to share. Drop us an email at agammoadventure@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Feel free to drop us a note and send us your thoughts on something we could include. Until next time, shoot straight.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, good job.